As we rediscovered that the aerial viewed Judean desert has the book of Genesis 49 chapter and 8 verse, couching Ethiopian lion sphinx of the tribe of Judah face image next to a 5 block high stacked on top of one another stealth pyramid image. This connects Genesis 49 chapter and 8 verse, couching Ethiopian lion sphinx of Judea and Jerusalem, which is mentioned in Ezra 1:3 as, "Let us go up to Jerusalem, which is located in the land of Judah." Now, this means that what the European false, mistranslated King James Bible lies was telling the Afro-Americans in America and around the world, they was telling us a false history of the book of Genesis, African continent civilization of Ham. As the African continent civilization of Ham is mentioned in the book of Genesis as having ancient kingdoms, or starting the ancient kingdoms of Babylon. That's where all the stealth pyramids in Iraq is today. And whereas the stealth pyramid of Saqqara, stealth pyramid of Doja. Now when we look at the Dome of the Rock outer wall area in Jerusalem, we see a wall that supports the Golden Dome. If we walk around that wall, we're going to see stone rectangular window frames. And then in each stone rectangular window frame, we see a stealth pyramid E. Now there's 2 stealth pyramids connected at their bases, which gives us a north, south, east, and west geographic coordinate vector. But in the center of the stealth pyramid, we see a cross. Now why is this? Well, we got to go to Ethiopia in a place called Lalibela and look straight down upon the stone cross-shaped building structure. When we do this, we will see that it's surrounded by a stealth pyramid E base. The same aerial view stealth pyramid image, if using a helicopter now, and looking down upon the stone Ethiopian cross-shaped building structure base, you can place it in the Dome of the Rock outer wall area which supports the Golden Dome. So as we go to the lower octagonal outer wall area in Jerusalem, next to the door that has an entrance canopy over it, entrance gate canopy, we will see 2 white stone X's, one below the other. Now on a blank sheet of paper, if you draw one stone X below the other, the thickness of your little finger, then the moment you extend a straight line down from the corners of the upper X so that they intersect with the corners of the lower X, the resulting image that is generated is that of a stone Ethiopian cross-shaped building structure 11 in Lalibela. In other words, we have been totally lied to by the European Gentile nations, or the 10 horns of Daniel, that took over the book of Genesis, black African continent stealth pyramid E civilization of Ham. Seeing that the entire octagonal building structure in Jerusalem has geometric figures in stone, one being a stealth pyramid E up on the outer wall in which supports the Golden Dome, and up on the lower octagonal outer wall surface next to the door that has the canopy over it, we see 2 stone white X's, one below the other. Now these 2 stone white X's, as I illustrate in this video, is generating the ownership of the octagonal building structure called Jerusalem. Ownership by who? By the Ethiopian biblical couching Giza Sphinx Lion of the tribe of Judah. So now, as we go to the area of the Judean desert, we see additional stealth pyramids belonging to the black African continent stealth pyramid E civilization of Ham. Now, in the Bible narratives, or the 16th century King James of England, the European Gentile nations, through the King James of England, tried to rewrite the African continent history through their appointed 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars. So as the 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars tried to, in the book of Psalms, the 105th chapter and 23rd verse, they renamed the original 12 African continent tribes, in which populated the entire African continent from south to north. This would be the descendants of the black African continent civilization of Ham, stealth pyramid E civilization. So since the stealth pyramid E civilizations created all these stone stealth pyramids in Arabia and upon the Mesopotamian area, so you cross over from Giza, G-I-Z-A, that's the Isaiah 19:19 Giza pyramids, you will see that the original 12 African continent tribes was Genesis 2:7, the normal shaped headed African Adamic race, in which the black man faced upon the lion's body, called the lion sphinx of the tribe of Judah, ruled over in ancient times. So this African lion sphinx of Judah, before the flood of Noah, what we call Arabia today, was a part of the northeast African continent geographic land surface area. So if we look at this on a map, or put the image of the African continent on a blank sheet of paper on the blackboard. Now you will notice a thin strip of water to the east of Africa. So that's called the Euphrates River. Now, if you cross the Euphrates River, you in this huge V-shaped piece of land called Arabia. Now remember, before the flood of Noah, what we call Arabia today was a part of the northeast African continent, a geographic land surface or coastline area. So if we squeeze Arabia back to northeast Africa coastline, we have one huge big African continent, undivided. So where the book of Psalms, 105th chapter 23rd verse, I'm speaking of the 16th century European Gentile nations through the King James of England. We see in the King James of England appointing 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars to fly to Judea and Jerusalem. So this is all in one undivided huge African continent since we reconnected northeast Arabia coastline to northeast Africa. This is why when we see the same step pyramids in the Dome of the Rock outer wall in which supports the Golden Dome, or Step Pyramid E, appearing in Ethiopia around the stone Ethiopian cross-shaped beam structure 11, then that's generated by the dual stone X's in the Dome of the Rock octagonal building structure lower outer wall area next to the entrance door that has a canopy over it. So we go back to the reclaiming of the stone Ethiopian cross-shaped building structure in Lalibela to the Dome of the Rock architectural and geometric origin. So we see a geometric origin now, the Ethiopian stone cross-shaped building structure being generated by the dual stone X's on a blank sheet of paper, one X above the other. If you draw a straight line down from the corners of the upper X so that they intersect with the corners of the lower X, you will see a stone Ethiopian cross-shaped building structure that we currently see in modern Lalibela. So as black people reclaim their roots of the African continent, the Hamitic Step Pyramid E civilization, they are reclaiming the Dome of the Rock itself. Now, since the book of Ezra 1:3 says, let us go up to Jerusalem, which is located in the land of Judah. It doesn't say in the land of Israel. So if we look at the northeast African continent, right, we cross over from Giza, where the black man's face appears on the lion's body. So that would be the Isaiah 19:19 northeast African continent pyramids. So we cross into Gaza. So that's the beachfront. It looks like a California beachfront or coastline. So now, when you cross from Giza, across the Euphrates River into Gaza, now you're in the Judean desert. You get it? So the whole area of black people in the Bible, black Ham, or the black African continent Step Pyramid E civilization of Ham, has reclaimed by Laurel Smith, showing you in this video, these ancient theological and archaeological structures along the northeast African continent coastline. Once you cross over from Africa, across the Euphrates River, now you in the Judean desert or Gaza Strip area. So then this connects Ezra 1:3 in the Bible, which says, let us go up to Jerusalem, which is located in the land of Judah. It do not say land of Israel. So as we look at the one undivided African continent before the flood of Noah, before northeast Africa coastline, separated into Arabia. So we go there and look at the images on this video. You're going to say, okay, I see what you're saying. The northeast African continent separated into Arabia during the flood of Noah. And so the Babylonian step pyramids of Africans, or Ham, they call them Hamites, or Canaanites, or Cushites. So all of the black people, all of the normal shape-headed Africans that was created in Genesis 2:7, the normal shape-headed African Adamic race that populated the entire African continent, they created step pyramids. And this is why we see the same step pyramids in the Dome of the Rock outer wall area in which supports the Golden Dome, appearing in Lalibela as the cross-shaped step pyramid E base. Now, if we come back to the undivided African continent, we draw 12 lines from South Africa to north. These are east to west lines, and view them with satellite imagery from outer space. We will then see nothing but African tribes living in each of the 12 geographic land surface African continent land surface line, in which brings us into the terminology in which I call the original 12 African continent tribes, in which the 16th century King James of England appointed 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars. They illegally lied in the book of Psalms, 105th chapter, 23rd verse, the European Bible lies for the Gentile nations, or the 10 horns of Daniel. So, as the original 12 African continent tribes was illegally renamed in the 16th century by King James, a European king, as the 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars traveled to Jerusalem and Judea, appointed by King James 400 years ago in the 16th century. They studied the Islamic Aramaic Dead Sea Scrolls found in the Karams cave. So, as we look at this, illegal denial or illegal renaming of the original 12 African continent tribes, this will be all of the normal shape-headed descendants of Ham, or African continent steppe pyramid East civilization. So this is why when we see the same steppe pyramid being connected to ancient Judaism, or the Judean desert, we see also steppe pyramids in the area of Judean desert. I show it on my video. And the black African Giza Sphinx face next to the steppe pyramid. But when we go to the Dome of the Rock foundation stone on the floor, we magnify that ancient stone in the floor in the center of the octagonal building structure in Jerusalem called the Dome of the Rock. So as we do this, we will see a steppe pyramid E design in the rock. Then we will see an African Sphinx face and an elongated head, the Old Testament glowing wool in the wood like UFO alien. Now these aliens appear in the Antarctic Circle along with the Giza Sphinx face. So the steppe pyramid E globe earth Mercator projection also appears to point humanity to the 1, 2, 3 steps of the steppe pyramid. So therefore, if you look at the 1, 2, 3 ice covered Giza pyramids in the Antarctic Circle, and then come back to Northeast Africa and view the 1, 2, 3 stone Giza pyramids, they are geometrically aligned in the same steppe pyramid E globe earth Mercator projection. Alright? Now, if we look at this and say, well, the Sphinx has a 66 feet height in front of the North African Giza pyramids. That's in the Bible, referred to as the Isaiah 19:19 Giza pyramids. But if you translate the 66 feet height of the Giza Sphinx in front of the 1, 2, 3 Giza pyramid, then you have a 66.33 degrees north and south pole, Antarctic and Arctic circle latitude. So the first circle at the top of the blue basketball-shaped Earth is 90 degrees. A second circle at the top of the blue basketball-shaped Earth coming down is 80 degrees. And the third is 70. But the fourth circle now is where the 66.33 degree north and south pole, Antarctic and Arctic circle latitude. So we can therefore say that the height of the black African Lion Sphinx of Judah in front of the Northeast African Isaiah 19:19 Giza pyramids is pointing the entire human race to the center of the steppe pyramid E image that appears in the Dome of the Rock outer wall area which supports the Golden Dome in Jerusalem. Now this means Ethiopia has a greater connection to the returning cube structure of King Solomon in the Seal of King Solomon, the 6-point star of the Seal of King Solomon. That's the origin of all 6-point stars. There's no white European-faced Israelite claiming the 6-point star, even though they illegally occupied Canaan. Now remember, if we go back to the before the flood of Noah, what we call the European Gentile nation is the Greeks, Romans, and Philistines. They are the ancient enemies of the black man in Africa, along the desert or Nile area. You see black men or pharaohs in chariots. That's like a horse is pulling a buggy that has 2 wheels on the back. Okay, and so the black African pharaohs had to fight off the European Gentile nations in which they called the Greeks, Romans, or Philistines. So when the Philistines, after thousands and thousands of years, was attacking the Northeast African continent desert, we had the black man's face on the lion's body being attacked by white people, y'all, in the Bible. And what we call them, Greek and Roman and Philistine. So it was a race war in the Bible, in which the European Gentile nations that lied about the African Lion Sphinx, okay, of Judea and Jerusalem, as they took over the ancient Holy Land area. So we go back to the 12 of Judea and Jerusalem of Ezra 1:3. So we go back to the original 12 African continent tribe, in which was illegally renamed in the book of Psalms, 105th chapter, 23rd verse, in the 16th century by King James, appointed 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars, as they was to study the Islamic Aramaic Dead Sea Scrolls. And so, as we rediscovered that if we draw 12 lines from North to South Africa, these are East to West lines, and view them with satellite imagery from outer space, we see nothing but African tribes living in each of the 12 geographic African continental land surface lines. No white man, no European, no Philistines, no Greeks or Romans. So, as we look at the 11th line, so the first line is South Africa. So we go to up, second, we go up, third one, we're going up from South Africa on the land surface. Now we up to 4, 5, 6, the middle of South Africa. 5 is the middle of South Africa. Then we keep going up till we get to 10, Ethiopia. Then we go up to 11, and that's Egypt, Giza. So in that 11 geographic Northeast African continent land surface line, we see a huge Sphinx 11, way before we go into the African pyramids. So viewing the satellite, and you viewing Earth from outer space, you move through the clouds, you focus your lens upon Northeast Africa. Now, in what the Isaiah 19:19 Giza pyramid is, that's where the black man face appears on the lion's body, called the biblical African couching lion sphinx of the tribe of Judah. So black people is the origin of Judaism and not white Europeans or Jews. So as we move from the 11th line, the Giza Sphinx line of Genesis 49 chapter 8 verse, the couching Ethiopian lion sphinx of the tribe of Judah. Now we cross over going east from Giza, the 11th geographic Northeast African land surface line, into the Judean desert. That's where the Gaza Strip is. Notice that the book of Ezra says, Ezra 1:3, let us go up to Jerusalem, which is located in the land of Judah. It does not say, let's go up to Jerusalem, which is located in the land of Israel. So we look at the false European Jewish Israeli roadmap. We're looking at Europeans entering into the coastline of Northeast Africa. Remember, like the California coastline or beachfront? That's what, if you cross over from Giza in Northeast Africa, across the sand, you going across the Euphrates River, now you're in the Judean desert. And that's the